thousands of Iraq children lose their parents to the brutality of ISIS staters every day. Sukani Ali Yunus compiled records of approximately 13,000 orphans in the city, and there are thousands more in other towns. They say that number is roughly about 20,000, and that includes children who have only lost one parent. After listening to my speech, you, my audience, will be able to describe 3 different aspects of Iraq's forgotten casualties of war. My 3 points for today will be point number 1, the story of Mahad, point number 2, the story of Mahad and the ISIS boy, and point number 3, Noir the survivor. Point number 1, the story of Mahad. When Mahad was 8 years old, he witnessed his father being dragged by ISIS fighters into their street and being shot dead. Later, his mother was also taken away, leaving both Mahad and his little sister orphans. Mahad screamed and yelled at the ISIS fighters to make them stop, but they would not leave his family alone. Moving on to point number 2, Mahad and the ISIS boy. A 10-year-old boy came to the orphanage where Mahad was staying at, and this 10-year-old boy was the son of an ISIS fighter. The staff at the orphanage tried to keep the information down low so that the boy would not get in trouble or be able to have a normal can be life at the orphanage. But unfortunately, the news leaked out and Mahad soon found out. When Mahad did find out who this boy was, he immediately went and started to beat and attack this boy because of what happened to his father. Later, when he was interviewed, he said that when he saw the boy, all he could think of was, I really, really hate him. Fortunately, Mahad was able to go through some physical exercise which allowed him to channel his anger and his hurt into physical exercise, so that later, both him and the same boy were able to play on the same side in a soccer team and were able to walk to school together. To review, point number 1 was Mahad, the story of Mahad. When he was 8 years old, Mahad witnessed his father being dragged into the street by ISIS fighters and being shot dead. My point number 2 was Mahad and the ISIS boy. A 10-year-old boy whose father had been an ISIS fighter came to the orphanage where Mahad was staying at, and they both got into a fight. But later were able to reconcile and play on the same side of the soccer team. Now moving on to my point number 3, which is Noir the survivor. When she was 10 years old, Noir was with her family and 19 members of her family in a makeshift bomb shelter where they had been cowering for days in a besieged old city. They tried to escape and had to stumble through mounds of rubble and dodge bullets. Unfortunately, they got caught up in a suicidal bomber attack, and Noir lost 19 members of her family. Her parents, her little sister, 6 cousins, 6 aunts and uncles, and her grandmother were all killed. Noir suffered pains on her face, her hands, and her arms, and she also suffered 2nd and 3rd degree burns from her fingertips to her elbows. Noir had to go and live with extended family, and when she did, her family decided to send her back to school. Unfortunately, when she tried to go back to school, Noir was teased and bullied for her appearance by both her teachers and her fellow classmates. So she was not able to attend school because it was a very painful experience. Before the accident happened, Noir loved to pretend that she was a princess and play with her dolls. But unfortunately, after the accident, she much preferred to play with a Mickey Mouse doll because she says, and I quote, "It's hard to pretend like that. I'm not beautiful like them." In conclusion, I'd like to review. My point number 1 was the story of Mahad. When Mahad was 8 years old, his father was dragged into the street and shot dead by ISIS fighters. My point number 2 was Mahad and the ISIS boy. A 10-year-old boy whose father had been an ISIS fighter came to the orphanage where Mahad was staying at. And when Mahad found out, he got into a fight with the boy and kicked and punched him. Later, though, they were able to reconcile and were able to play on the same side of a soccer team. My point number 3 was the story of Noir, the survivor. When Noir was 10 years old, she and 19 members of her family tried to escape a besieged old city where there was fighting going on. They got caught up in a suicidal bomber attack, and Noir lost 19 members of her family and was scarred for life. Now I would like to show you 2 pictures of Noir, because I believe that nothing I could say could truly give you an idea of what Noir looks like. And I want you to be able to see, and I believe that an image will be able to stick with you longer than anything I could say. But beware, because it's not the easiest thing to look at. So this is a picture of Noir in a convenience store. And as you can see, both her face and her arms suffered various bruises, and yeah, when I saw this, it stuck with me and I've never forgotten this picture. Now I would like to show you a picture of Noir with her extended family. So this is Noir with her extended family. Okay. Thank you so very much for listening to my speech.